It's third grade I saw, man. I was sitting in Joe Louis. Today was kind of like my Thursday. Tomorrow's my Friday. Mm-hmm. Yet I'm still working overtime on real Friday. It's confusing.
You're a hardworking man.
I got goals.
Got goals, baby.
But I'm sitting in Joe Louis doing community policing. If you don't know, community policing is when an officer sits in an area or a place to try to curb crime. Mm-hmm. We turn our blue lights on. We initiate a call, letting dispatch know we're here. We're visible,
present,
because we want people to see us so they don't do certain things. Like
it works. It's a car sitting right there on Capitol Circle right now, LCSO car, and it's empty and it moved. They move it to different spots.
But don't get the secrets away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm sorry.
Listen,
but it works. Is my point. You don't know if it's empty or not until you. Yeah.
So I'm sitting in Joe Louis, and I see this little. I guess probably about 8, 9 years old. He in the third grade. School just started. He walking to school. You know what time? Elementary school start, I think, at 8 o'clock in Tallahassee.
7:55.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock. Little boy walking up. He lives in Joe Louis. Riley Elementary sit right there in the neighborhood, basically, in the project. He walking up with his book bag. As he get closer, I'm on the phone at the same time. I'm like, where's this little boy going? It's 9 o'clock. School started an hour ago. He walking by himself. No issue with him walking by himself. School right there. He third grade. He old enough to walk to school by himself. But as he get close, I see he got a little dried up slob right here on his face. He got some dried snot in his nose. So he clearly ain't washed his face. He decently dressed, and he got his book bag. Because a lot of kids that go to a lot of these young black schools, they don't even carry no book bag to school. So I was pleased to see that he at least had his book bag. But you know what pissed me off, Dicarrio?
What's that?
It was 9 o'clock.
Yeah. It
was 9 o'clock. School started an hour ago. So when he got close enough to my car, I said, hey, what time it is? He say, he third grade. It's the police talking to him. He don't know what to say. So I was like, where your mama at? Same answer. All right. So you go to Riley? Yeah, I go to Riley. You say that. He never really gives me a response as to why he just now walking to school. My issue with this is, where is mama? Where is daddy? He in the project, so chances are daddy ain't around. Because a lot of times when you live in the projects, it's just mama and kids. If you got a father in the household, chances are you probably not staying in the projects. It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. Even with minimum wage jobs, you're probably making enough money to not live in the projects. I don't know. I never lived in the projects, so I can't speak on that really. Mm-hmm. But the point is, it's 9 o'clock. The boy just walking to school. Who's to blame for that? And why?
Personal accountability.
On who?
On, first of all, the people who created that child.
Okay.
Second of all, the people who have taken responsibility for that child. We don't know who it is.
Right. Because you saying it might not be mama or daddy.
It might not be.
It might be auntie, grandma.
Grandma.
Okay.
Young cousin.
Yeah.
We don't know.
So you saying mama might be going to work and she leave it to the older sister to make sure that her little brother get to school on time, because that is normal. That is normal.
That is.
In the poor community, parents are, they working weird hours just to have a job.
They pass the responsibility off on the oldest child.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
And that might have been the case.
Yeah. But it frustrated you.
It frustrated me because as a black man, a black male adult who has made it this far in life, I know what it takes to be at least halfway successful.
Halfway decent.
Halfway decent, you know what I'm saying? I see this little kid walking up, man, and he ain't got no adult with him. It looks like the responsibility is all on him. You know how I know the responsibility was all on him and nobody else? At least not an adult, because of the way he walked out of the house with that face looking like that. Mm-hmm. One thing, when I'm working these elementary schools, man, when I see these kids, I'm trying to see how they dressed. I'm trying to see if they pants zipped up. Do they have on a belt? Do they have on a decent shirt, or does it look like a shirt they wore the past 2 or 3 days? Mm-hmm. Because that tells me whether or not they have irresponsible parents. That tells me whether or not these kids are just getting the proper leadership when they walk out the house every day.
The living situation like.
Man. For a 8, 9-year-old kid to be walking out the house by himself to school an hour late, that tells me either mama don't care mama left the kid in the hands of an older sibling who has not even been taught to care yet. Because if you 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, you haven't truly been taught that what it's like to be an adult yet. Like,
and then you in responsibility for somebody else at that point.
Right.
It's a whole dynamic, man. But I feel exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
Because we go into a lot of households, and you see the devastation, you see the chaos, you see the
chaos without there even being literally like actual chaos going on. You can walk into a house and it be in complete disarray because that's normally how they keep a house. And you can tell this house is chaos.
Yep. And the hard part about, I don't know what to call it. The hard part about, and the only thing I can say is self-accountability is, what do we do? Because initially that's how homelessness starts.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't care to care for another person, who is responsible for that person? Yeah. We do the MH1 unit.
Yeah.
We go to a lot of situations where we can help.
What is the MH1 unit?
It's the mobile mental health unit that we got going on.
For us, it's Police 400.
Yeah. So we got a mental health professional, we got a police officer, and we got a firefighter who's there for medical. In a lot of situations there, we it's almost like helplessness, man. It's like, okay, we know this person got problems, but if they are alert to the point where they can answer questions correctly, we can't force nothing on them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If they obviously got a problem, they don't want to take their medication, and it's like, who is responsible? So like you said, who's responsible for this child? Because on one hand, that child could grow up to be the first person to cure cancer.
Yeah.
We don't know. Or that child could be the next person homeless on the street. So who's responsible? Who's going to be responsible for these people? So it fall back to personal accountability.
Yeah.
You can't blame that child.
Definitely can't blame the child, because the child is a child. The child is just doing what he's been taught. The child is doing exactly what he sees.
He say, hey, I got to go to school. I roll out of bed. I got to get to school.
Right.
And
that's my real fear, is that there's so many children out here in the world today that wake up in the morning and there's nobody to tell them to get their butt up.
Or get them up on time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's nobody to tell. I wake up. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. My body wakes up. As a child, I don't get up because all I want to do is continue to sleep. Mm-hmm. My fear is that there are a lot of children out here in the world where parents are not walking into these children's room at 7 o'clock and saying, hey, James, get up. My fear is that these parents are just living their own life, probably staying asleep. They ain't even set no alarm because they ain't got no job. So James is left up to his own accord to get up. How do you tell a 7, 8-year-old kid, hey, it's up to you to get up when you wake up? You know you go to school at 8 o'clock. When you wake up, it's your job to get dressed, brush your teeth, and go to school. I feel like there's a lot of kids out there who are left like that. And that ain't fair.
What's even colder, Justin, and one of my coworkers' wives told me this, a lot of kids are left in that same situation, and they only going to school to get a good meal.
That's it.
It's cold, bro.
That's it.
That's cold. And
a lot of these kids ain't even eating real dinners.
And when you think about it, like on that level, what do you do at that point? You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna leave you with something too. One of my coworkers was like, you know, especially when he felt that the country was going to the hell, and you know, and he just couldn't grapple with what all the stuff that was going on, and it seemed like it was. I said, well, at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control,
right?
And the only thing that you can control is your household and your kids.
Is that where it starts?
That's where it starts.
Is that where turning a new leaf starts in the black community? When people take self-accountability, they say they focus on self-accountability and making sure they take care of their family first, because you can't take care of nobody else until you take care of your own.
You gotta tend to your own sheep, and That's where it starts. So whatever you want that kid to know, whenever you got nieces and nephews, whatever you want that kid to feel and understand, you got to teach that to your nieces and nephews, or you got to teach that to your. That's where you start.
Ain't nobody else gonna do it, right?
They may not do it, or like I said, if you feel that strongly about it, you got to get that to the next closest child that you can
reach.
To what we said, to breathe life into.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to know and understand based off what you see, give it to that next child that's close to you. Yeah. And that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Because if you just leave it as a burning fire, you be out there fighting the streets and punching the pavement, because it's a lot of situations where we don't get to see and we honestly can't not handle and take on. So you got to start with that next closest. So
do you think parents should be held accountable legally when they have children who constantly miss school?
That's where it starts.
Yeah. You think it starts with the legal system?
I hate to go the legal system route, but when the schools are, recording a typical behavior with the child, that's the first point of contact. Who signed the forms for this child to come to school? Because there's always going to be somebody signing forms.
Who is just simply responsible for this child?
Who's the guardian? That's what it say, parent or guardian.
Right.
You got to go to that person first.
What time your kids go to school? They old enough for school yet?
Yep. They go to Florida High, and they go to school. I think their school taking it.
What's a normal morning for you and your kids? How do your kids get up and get dressed? What happens?
I got several alarms, brother. I got I got a 6:20 on my watch and a 7 o'clock on my phone.
Okay.
So I'm getting up and going in their room. I'm getting my oldest up first, carrying him to the bathroom because he ain't gonna get up.
Yeah.
And we
That's
rolling.
deep though, bro. Listen, bro. Hold on. Hold on. Stop right there. That's deep. You got a father who has to literally carry his son to the bathroom to make sure that he gets dressed. That, to me, when I picture that in my head, it sounds like you have a father who's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that their kids get out the house and get to school
on time.
So there's a big gap between what you are willing to do and what a lot of other parents are willing to do. And that's the difference between what successful children and children who end up in the system. And the system is whatever you can picture, whether that's the legal system, whether that's the, adoption, whether that's, I don't know.
So I had the same conversation with my family when I was on the prayer line. I was like, I don't really pray, but I just, wherever my mind is at the time, I just speak to that. Yeah. So my son had, we had a tough school year with my son. And by tough school year, where he wasn't really getting along with the teacher, and he was struggling with having to do all the, as you get older, you got work to do and stuff like that. He was like, but my free time, So we had a struggle, but at the end of that year, my son had I think he ended up making honor roll, and that's the only thing that was on my mind at the time when we had the prayer line. I was like, I'm gonna take a pause and say congratulations to me and my wife, because we are the parents who put forth the energy behind getting him to that point. Because it was a struggle. It was tough. I was like, you know what? Our hard work paid off, and it showed through my son. Yeah. As parents, you got to do that. If you really, no matter what school your child go to, no matter what school, if you are putting forth the energy behind your child and the push, it's gonna pay off. And at some point, you got to get yourself a pat on the back. Right. Because I know what we did. Yeah. It was hard. It was tough. Right. He cried a lot. He fought a lot. But we was there to say, hey, this is what our expectations are. And if nobody's there to put the expectations on the child has no bar. Right, because the child is too young to have expectations for himself. Right. Or herself. Right. So the engine that runs that child is who? It's the parents. Mm-hmm. The parents dictate how enthused the child becomes over time. It may not just be the parents. It may be a coach. So if your child is naturally good at, something. Yeah. There's also a push behind that child to flower that gift, to water it. Right. If your child, good at basketball, football, baseball, math, science, whatever it is, there's a push behind that to get that child to a certain standard.
Yeah.
And that usually falls on the parents or whoever that guardian is. So when you see children out there who lack that drive, it's usually gonna always fall to that living situation.
Right, living situation. Fall on the parents.
Yeah.
I mean, the parents, what's your opinion on this? My opinion is when I have children, my life goes out the window. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that. Mm-hmm. I say I don't mean that literally, but I mean that literally. Like when I decide to have children, it's not about me anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, if I say it's not about my wife anymore, that's going to sound like I care about my wife less. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's not about us anymore.
You want to give your all to that child.
Because I want to make sure that my children carry on my legacy. I want to make sure that my children have a completely fair shot at being successful in life. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to make sure that I'm not necessarily pour my all into them, but I pour a whole bunch into them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I pour everything that I could possibly pour into them.
Parenting is
right,
selfless.
because when you become a parent, you can't be selfish. You just can't. It's certain trips that you can't take no more. Mm-hmm. It's certain things that you can't buy no more, unless you just got it like that.
Different strokes for different folks.
Because now maybe it's not about you becoming rich. Now it's maybe about your children becoming rich. And it's not so that you can live off of your children, mm-hmm. but it's so that your children can live a better life and have a better life.
Every child is supposed to take stand on your shoulders.
Right.
So I ain't gonna say it's not about you anymore, because you're gonna have to still pour into your mental and your
right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you go 100 for your child, you still got to go 100 for yourself,
right? To
be able to pour into that child. So
that's a good point.
My biggest saying is, if you don't take care of yourself,
yeah,
you can't take care of nobody else.
You can't take care of nobody else.
Yeah, so yourself got to be in check in order for you to take care of that child.
So ideally, before you have children, you make sure that you're in a good position to be able to.
That's what you're supposed to
further those children, right? But let's say you have children before, because most people do. They have.
I did.
Listen, the majority of children out here were not planned. All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wanted to have children, but we didn't want to have children last week. You get what I'm saying? So once you have children, you know, you have to be able to find a balance where you can take care of your mental for yourself. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? To be able to pour, to be able to have the tools to pour into the children that you conceive.
To deal with it.
Right. Because if you just have children and you ain't even mentally prepared, you ain't nothing but a poisonous substance pouring into those children's lives.
So with that conversation, I had the same conversation with a lieutenant of mine, and he thought it was Christian, or he think he's Christian. But I was like, me and you go to the same cause. Yeah. And we see children in different situations. Yeah. So it was around the election time, and somebody was they was politicking off the back of abortion and Christian and God and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was like, do you believe in the adoption system or the abortion system? Because you see children in the same light as I see them. Yeah. In horrible situations. And all children may not be able to be adopted. We talked about the adoption system, how, messed up it was. But I was like, at the end of the day, I was like, bro, yeah, these are human lives. You can adopt a dog. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Do you look at children as in the same light as you do a dog? Nah. So where do you side? I said, I'd rather people not have the children that they can't take care of versus having the children and can't take care of them.
That's blasphemy to a lot of people.
You know what I'm saying?
People don't want to hear that.
He couldn't deal with it.
They can't deal with that because so a lot of people, they feel like, man, God put us on here to procreate. Right. That's what we supposed to do. And if we don't do that, we are a failure.
But once the lives come here, who's going to be here to take care of those lives? Right. And if we're not going to hold the parents, the people who made the child accountable, who's going to step up and say, hey, I'm here to bring this child in? A lot of people are not willing to do that.
Right. What's the bigger crime? Not having children because you knew you couldn't take care of them, or having children, not being able to take care of them, and you just you're just giving them away. Right. You selling puppies at that point. Right. Or not even that you put them up for adoption, because if you put them up for adoption, then that's actually responsible.
Ain't no telling where the child gonna end up. Right. Who's heard of horrible adoption stories?
Man, listen, I go to households every single day. Maybe not every single day.
Yeah.
But a lot.
Yeah,
a whole lot. Where I go in the households and I be like, you ain't supposed to have no kids. You wasn't supposed to have no kids.
And here's the other part. It is some children who have thrived from
those types of households?
From those type of households.
Those are special kids. Those are anomalies.
The anomalies.
Those are anomalies. And
so it's like...
Right. That whole thing, hey, you just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? You got to recognize the situation you in.
Was that child ordained or blessed by God to thrive from those less than...
I'd say yes.
You know what I'm saying? What do you say?
Yes.
Because
in reality, Dicarrio, man, listen, man. From the day you born, if you are raised in a toxic environment, there's no reason to believe that you are supposed to overcome your circumstances.
More times
listen, bro. Your mama and your daddy fought every day till they got divorced. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they wasn't even married. Then your daddy had 6 or 7 other kids. Your mama had man after man coming in inside the house. She never woke you up for school. You had to walk to school, and whenever you woke up, that's when you woke up, and that's when you went to school. You ain't had real dinners, but you had decent breakfasts and lunches because you ate at school. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You lived in a neighborhood where they sold drugs every day. Mm-hmm. You ain't had no real fatherly figures in your life. Your mama had brothers, but you barely ever saw them, and when you did see them, their pants was hanging off their butt. They were selling dope, and they didn't care if they sold it in front of you, if they made a transaction in front of you or not. So what you did was you saw that every single day when your uncle came around, and you thought that was normal. That's how a man made money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what do we expect from kids who grew up in these types of environments? What do we expect? They're going to grow up to be that. That is them.
Yeah.
They have no choice.
More times than not. That's going to be the case. And that's what I was trying to tell the guy. And I was like, how you gonna fault somebody for aborting a child that they are not ready to take care of? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And then it put us in a bad position as police officers, man, when we got to deal with these kids when they turn 15, 16,
lawless.
17, when they start smelling themselves, man.
No respect for nobody.
Said, they start living a lawless life because that's what they've been seeing all their life. So as a black man, when I come in contact with these kids, I have a large level of sympathy for them, but at the same time, I still got to do my job.
I still got to do your job.
I still got to protect the rest of everybody else from these kids because these kids was bred to be criminals.
They weren't even bred to be criminals. They just wasn't raised.
They wasn't raised. And so that led to them being criminals.
Exactly.
Because it wasn't like there was a book that said this is how you become criminals.
Exactly.
But you know what? It's the parents who could have wrote a book on, hey, this is how you not raise your children so that they become criminals. Yeah, I got to be the bad guy.
You got to be the bad guy.
So, that's why I try to do this job with a level of respect as best as
I
can.
But you got the whole circle of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you still got to do your job.
Because I got to protect people who try to go out there and live respectful lives and try to do things the right way. Because there's a lot of people out here who just want peace in their life. They don't want to have to be bothered by those who choose to live a different lifestyle.
Listen, search for peace and search for health. Those two coincide. Peace and health. I don't know. For me, it has done wondrous things. For a lot of people who are close to me, it has done wonderful things. So if you're out there struggling with, different issues and people and drama, because Lord knows we know a lot of people who keep up drama, but search for peace. Yeah. If you got to cut those people off, you got to do that. Yeah. If you got to take a pause for your mental health, your well-being, you lost somebody, do that, because a lot of time that's where you will find the most clarity. If you be quiet, meditate. Yeah. Sit with yourself for a minute. Cut everything off, phone, music, whatever you got to do. Sit with yourself for a minute. Yeah. And a lot of people didn't understand that. Say, hey, I practice meditation. That's where I find the answers. Yeah. Whether it's God,
that's who
the universe.
When I meditate, I'm talking to God. And I'm not a meditator, but I'm saying though, when I'm to myself, it's a conversation with me, between me and God.
And this is what I tell my family. I say, if you believe in God, if you're a Christian, you gotta believe God is within you.
Yeah.
So you can be a God. You can have God-like qualities. You can do amazing things.
I love that, man.
Boy, look at here.
I love that.
And this is where it get quiet on the phone sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like, listen to what you saying.
Yeah.
You saying you can't do something without God, but God is within you. You are God.
Yeah.
It get different, but I have to speak life into my family. I can't shy away from what I've been revealed.
Yeah.
And I try to bring forth that energy and say, hey, this is where I'm at. And people respect me for that. My family respect me for that.
I tell people all the time, man. All the time. I tell myself a lot. Listen, when I walk into a room, I don't want people to see me. I want them to see the God in me. You know what I'm saying? I want them to see the God in me.
That's right.
You know, it's a level of, it's this aura about you that should resonate when you walk into a room, because you are so connected to God. You are so connected to your spirituality that people recognize the maturity, the good, the positive in you.
Man, I just heard from this guy right here. He said, respect, I think he said, don't respect the position of power. You get what I'm saying? So if you walk in the room, you a police, people gonna respect you because you're police.
Right. That's a title.
Right. Don't respect the title. Respect how that that person does, because they might meet you and you may be able to do more for them than the sergeant, or you know what I'm saying, whatever. Don't respect that position. Respect what that person is able to do, because that person may be able to help you more than that principal at the school may be able to help. You get what I'm saying?
It's like, don't respect what he is.
Yeah,
respect who he is.
Who he is. There you go. I can't remember the exact quote, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And when you give out that energy, people gonna respect you and remember how you made them feel and what you was able to do for them. That's super important.
That's dope, man.
That's dope. Right
that's
there.
Super important to me, man, because I do want people to respect who God intends me to be. I pray every single day that I pray every single day that I am what God created me to be. You know, I may not ever reach that, but you know that it's always a constant thing in my head. And for me, as long as I'm always thinking about it, that's all I care about. Because I'm always striving to be that.
That's what's going to come to you.
Yeah.
Like I said, that mind is a powerful thing. And you seeking that energy, that universe that you're trying to get to, it's going to come to you. Right. And that's what you pouring out.